Everything is a confirmation that storytelling really is a power, is a magic, it's everything in business and in communication. When we share our story, we connect to other hearts and then something magical happens. It is powerful if we can use that to bring people into our world. Okay, let me use it another way, to bring people into our business, because when they connect to us, then something powerful begin to take place.
I would like to first say that a good story isn't enough to convert leads to sales. Your story would have to do more than being good. It would have to be persuasive. It would have to be convincing enough to convert leads to sales. If you are thinking about building a personal brand, or you're already building a personal brand, or you want to grow your business brand further, it is essential to look at the content that you put out. I believe that content is the major catalyst that not only attracts customers, but keeps customers. And you want to infuse storytelling into your content, your digital space, online, your website, your social media. But there's something that people miss in this: the need for uniformity in your message. Let your story be uniform in the sense that let there be a flow. You want it to have a flow. You want people to understand the next story because it leads to the next one. There's a flow. You can understand why the man then went to the market, because you're giving an introduction as to what he was looking for in the market.
I'll leave it with one final example. In 2023, many of us watched a movie that was pretty much an entire commercial. And that movie was called Air, right? Air. It was about the Nike brand building on the reputation of a young gentleman named Michael Jordan. We barely even got to see Michael Jordan. We know who Michael Jordan is. Many people around the globe know who he is as a result of him being an icon in athleticism and specifically basketball. But we all sat there watching a commercial, which was eventually a theatrical release, right? But it was the compelling story behind it that kept us in our seats wanting to know more. We know about Michael Jordan. We didn't know that Nike was on the brink of not being a brand because of that situation before that, right? So these are the things that we have to consider. If we need to stand out, if we need to establish that rapport, we need to be telling our stories and helping our clients, if we are strategists, to do so. I just wanted to bring that to the conversation. Thank you so much, Obehi. Back to you.
Thank you so much, brother. That is so valuable. That is really so valuable. You see, that is, everything is a confirmation that storytelling really is a power, is a magic. It's everything in business and in communication. That is why the big brands, like you're saying, making reference to Nike and the art that they did. People like Elon Musk, for example, are very powerful in this, in that they come around to share their story. And they're doing the same thing over and again because they want to connect. You see, Jay, you were making reference to COVID-19, that at that time people wanted to share their story. That is true. And he also said something to that effect. The people after now are going to ask the question, what really transpired in the so-called COVID-19? Now, let me tell you a little story. In that period of COVID-19, that is actually when my podcast actually got itself rebranded and become what it is today. Because up until that time, I wasn't really doing it. Sometimes I just come online and do something. But during that COVID-19 was when I really opened up the conversation. But where do you think I was at the time? I was in the hospital. Okay, my medical situation wasn't really the type that could really immobilize me because I was still functioning. Okay, I was being medicated, but I was functioning. So I took my computer with me. In my hospital bed, I did a lot of interview. What I was essentially doing was I was so interested in learning about how are the people feeling. I interview a lot of psychologists. I interview a lot of people in US, in UK, in Canada, in Nigeria, because the story of COVID-19 was really is something that we were not used to. How can you lock up the economy? Because we are used to going out, but now we cannot do that anymore. Now the question was, how are you feeling? How are you living that moment? You see, if you take a sample of opinion of the people, you will see that a lot of industry actually spring up during that period, because something happened to the human being when it's left alone to reflect. A lot of artists, invention happened in that period. If you think I'm lying, just take some time, speak to people, look around. You will see that a lot of people did something incredibly beautiful. But of course, that also increased a lot of domestic violence and all of that. That is what some people were telling me during the interview. So the sharing of these stories are important because they help us to connect. Because I was really interested in that connection, because now you are alone. What do you do now? How are you living this moment? When we share our story, we connect to other hearts, and then something magical happens. It is powerful if we can use that to bring people into our world. Okay, let me use it another way, to bring people into our business, because when they connect to us, then something powerful begins to take place. All right, Hannah, I have a question for you. What would be maybe some of your recommendation as the best strategy to leverage storytelling for lead generation in business? What would you like to suggest to people?
Thank you very much, Mr. Obehi, for that question. Before I answer the question, I would like to first say that a good story isn't enough to convert leads to sales. Your story would have to do more than being good. It would have to be persuasive. It would have to be convincing enough to convert leads to sales. With that said, I'm going to be sharing few strategies that I implement for my clients that help them attract more leads using storytelling. And one of those strategies is including storytelling into the content mix, the content strategy. If you are thinking about building a personal brand, or you're already building a personal brand, or you want to grow your business brand further, it is essential to look at the content that you put out. I believe that content is the major catalyst that not only attracts customers, but keeps customers. And I'll expatiate on that further. But you want to infuse storytelling into your content, your digital space, online, your website, your social media. I know that you might have heard this a lot, but there's something that people miss in this: the need for uniformity in your message. So oftentimes you go on people's websites and they have a story there, and then you go on their social media pages and then there is something extremely different from what was shared on the website. And that's why it's so important. I always say this: let there be uniformity in your story. Let your story be uniform in the sense that let there be a flow. You want it to have a flow. You want people to understand the next story because it leads to the next one. There's a flow. You can understand why the man then went to the market, because you're giving an introduction as to what he was looking for in the market. But what I found is disjointed stories, and you want to avoid that. So you want to look at uniformity. You want to look at how well you are telling your stories using your content. That would mean to create a content strategy. That would mean to have a content strategy for a month, depending on how long you want it to run for. But it is essential to look at the content that you're putting out and the uniformity, the flow. Another thing that I would be saying I use as a strategy is to wear the shoes of your customers. There's a popular saying about how the person wearing the shoe knows where it hurts. And it's true. If you want to understand, because when I hear stuff about pain points, I feel like it's overused. It is important, but I feel like that word is overused to the point that people might lose the meaning. So how do you understand the pain points of your customers? Wear the shoe. if you need to go onto the field and see what the problems are, if you need to talk to them, if you need to shut up and observe, don't do the talking, do the listening, and really understand where the problems are and who and where they might be lacking, then you can then prepare solutions with your stories. So mind you, if you had followed what I said in the beginning, I spoke about how storytelling is like a dance, right? When you're dancing, there's the beats, there is the introduction, there is the swaying from side to side. So in as much as it is important to stick to the pain points and prepare solutions, you also want to position yourself as solution giver, as the best man or woman for the job. And how do you do that? Is by understanding what the problems are. Be directly involved into the activities of your customers so you can understand what the problems that they're going through is. And then not just understanding it, but then creating content. Going back to what I said about the importance of content, creating content that address those problems, but storytelling being a major catalyst for those sort of content. Another strategy that I also recommend is always remember that you want to evoke a feeling. And how do you evoke a feeling? We already spoke about how storytelling does that and why it's unique to other forms of content, because let's be honest, there are different sorts of content out there. A lot of people are doing a lot of stuff, especially when it comes to sales. People want to sell. So how do you evoke emotions? You cannot evoke emotions if you do not understand the customer's pain point. So that really lays into you understanding the customer's pain point and then speaking to the problem. So say your customer has a problem of job searching, because that's what LinkedIn is for being honest. LinkedIn is here for people who are looking for jobs. It's really job oriented. So if you're on LinkedIn and that's your niche and that's what you want to address, that's the pain point that you want to address, you evoke emotion by setting the tone, by telling them exactly how they feel. And I love that people have touched on that. It's saying, I know how frustrating it is to wake up in the morning and feel like all the jobs that you're applying for, you're not getting any feedback. Well, this is how it feels. You wake up, you open your laptop, go through your emails, and you get the sorry, unfortunately we cannot hire you message. You are not just writing that or telling that story. What you're doing is you're speaking to the problem and the pain that that person feels, opening your laptops, opening the computers and seeing the emails and how they feel afterwards. And then you're saying, well, this is what we do in our agency. We're going to help you so that when you wake up, instead of seeing those negative emails, we will be sending you the positive ones. So give us the role of going out and doing the search for you so you don't have to bother about those feelings that you get when you open the emails. My point is you want to evoke emotions, but you cannot evoke emotions if you do not understand who you're speaking to. Going back to wearing the shoes of your customer, wearing the shoes of your audience, so that you know where it hurts, so that you know where it pinches.